there's basically two kinds of drills with music, and that's the symmetrical and asymmetrical. All right? If you'll look at the symmetrical drills, the advantage, you begin the formation. Whenever you start a turn or something like that, you start it on a major phrase. All right? Makes sense. And then your next phrase would be like the middle of the string. All right? Now, as far as it makes sense to the kids. All right? If something makes sense to the kids, guess what? They're going to learn it a lot quicker. They'll pick it up faster. And mom and pop in the stands, it makes sense to them. So they'll enjoy the drill a little bit more. It's easier to perform your music because of how you're doing that. The students learn faster, and most importantly to me, it gives you more time to polish what you're doing. Now look at the asymmetrical drills. That gives you so much leeway. And I like the asymmetrical aspect of it. You can do things that can happen here, there, and there on the field. It doesn't really matter where it's falling with the music. It allows you that flexibility, but it's more difficult to teach, and it's more difficult to learn. And you're more likely to have individual errors and problems when you're doing it. And you're going to expose more difficult to polish because it takes longer to learn. So in the final analysis, when you're going to competition, and that's something that you always, when you backtrack on it, you've got to look at it. Am I going to be able to teach this in time? It's not a question of, am I good enough to teach this? You're going to assume yes on that. The question is, am I going to have time to polish to get the music there? Now, the pendulum in our music and band, I've seen this thing go, there was a time where it had to be the concert on the field. And then it became that raw aggression was that's the way to go. And I think it's going to settle in. If you have aggressive control sound, it's really a good way to go. But I think at some point in time, it's going to come back to that concert on the field. Ask yourself this question when you bring your kids out, you're out and you're doing that contest. Can you take that march they just played and put it on stage at UIL concert? And if the answer is no or hell no, then they're not ready. That's a good thing. But if you can step back and turn your back on the band, listen to them and go, wow, then you're there. All right? So when you're doing asymmetrical drill, getting to that point is much more difficult. Okay? So things to consider when you're writing a drill. The optimal length is 6.5 minutes. You got to be between 5 and 8. Optimal is 6.5. If you're a small band, you're not going to want to drag them that. If you're a big band, you can easily go beyond that. You've got the people. And I've seen a lot of big bands, I know a lot of you have too, and I see a 180-piece band out there, and they could reduce that to 96 and still be just as big, if not clean and clear, because there's a lot of kids carrying horns. There's a lot of people that don't play through turns. There's a lot of people. Y'all know what I'm talking about. And when you hear a band, a big band that maximizes that, that's great. But the reason I say 6.5 minutes is it allows time for you to polish, and it easily falls within time constrictions. Now, I've gone 7.5 and all, just depending on what I'm doing. So it's up to you and it's up to the band. And using, these are just intuitive. Opposite turns, whatever direction of horn sound, anything that might affect the sound of your band. Using clicks, dead counts that reposition. And there's one thing about dead counts that to me is bothers me. I've judged bands, and I've seen a military band go out there and do 14 clicks to get to the next formation. And that to me didn't make sense. Now I'm not talking about they're doing alternating to the rears in a sense to get to a formation. I'm talking about they're just dragging the field and they're doing clicks because their music didn't line up. And to get to another thing. I think in most of those cases, it's, well, we teach our band a third, a third, a third, as opposed to we teach that drill all in one swell foot. So, but you see that, and that is, it does not aid with the flow. So if you can put something in there, you know, a short piece of cadence or whatever, or rethink where you just did that last to the rear counter march by a couple of steps, then you can put a 16 count cadence. Those sort of things you want to watch out for. And then another thing that was, one thing that I noticed, and I judged the band, it's a big band, decades of making first division at marching contests. And they got in, we're talking, it had been close to 200 plus people. And they split into 2 blocks. And they took them all the way down to the 20s that I'm sending. So what are you gonna have? You're gonna start having this, all right? Now, you need to know where you're gonna be marching at. In this case, the stadium had a big wall, an auditorium or whatever it was right there. So you have this band in the middle, they're hearing this coming off, they're slowing this band's moving on, and the band didn't get just part way off. They were a full count apart. And they started coming back, and it was just like, all right, which group is going to take over? And one of the group, thankfully, the correct group took over. I gave the band a 2. And they were fortunate to make a 1. But that, something like that, how do you plan for that? He may have spent a lot of time trying to get that band to stay together, but did you consider the venue? So always consider the venue when you're doing something like this. All right, now as far as stacking a band, if you'll look in your chart, the page 4 of this chart, we're talking about doing this. This is a sample right here of stacking the band. If you look at it from this is a company front. It's a, they're moving down, the press box would be at the bottom side, all right, and you see some holes in there. The way I did this is how I always stack the band. And I did this for a particular reason. It's one thing that Jim Jones and I did a lot. It is how to get a good sound as the band's going up and down the field, how to get that good sound to the press box. So if you'll notice that we have the flutes and clarinets in the first 3 files, then we have a file of alto sax and a file of baritone. And then we do the mixed trumpet and trombone with the sousaphones on the back. And then up along the top of that, you'll see just marcher, player, marcher, player, marcher, player. Doesn't matter really what they're playing so much, as long as they can play and they can march. There are people who could lead in a drill. And then you notice where the percussion are. Get the percussion. I know that, and I heard this years ago in judging, corps style directors were getting real upset because their bands were being penalized because their percussion were so loud. Well, go up on stage at UIL and have your percussion play that big. What are you going to get? First division? No. And that was something that it was driven home, and there was arguments about it, discussions about it, and such. And so put the percussion away. You can always get them to play big enough, right? But moving up and down the field, you'll get a more balanced sound. So you see how we did this. Now the sousaphones along the back, I don't recommend. I think it's one of those things that people get into that can be problematic, and that is putting a bunch of the same instrument along the same road. And I make exceptions with bass horns because of what they're doing. But when you're doing this, keeping your stronger players to the near side, all right, it'll help you. Now when you're marching, if you're doing a drill where the band's going sideline to sideline and then they're turning and going, and this doesn't matter if it's in a block or if it's in a company fronts, always keep in mind the balancing of the band is different. And so sideline to sideline is a different animal than going up and down the field. Keeping your brass in the middle and everything, and like I said, avoid placing all of one section on the ring. It looks good. And you're seeing a band going down, and boy, here's all these trumpets, and here's all these trombones. And you get to a turn, and what happens to the trumpets? They disappear. The trombones disappear. And then they're back. Okay? And one of the biggest things that I notice with bands, and this happens with a lot of folks, is they don't consider the sound. And in that chart, you'll see I might have first trumpet on the front, first rank, second rank, third rank. So if you have a first trumpet going through the turn, and something happens, they can't play, you got others still playing. And then they're back. So you keep that flow, that continuity of sound. And how many times have any of you have ever sit and watched a military band and noticed that the sound drops when they do a turn? And one of the best things that I found you can do, you turn your back on your band. And if you can't hear them turn, then they pull it off. And that's what you want, not being able to hear a band turn. Okay? So how you line up your kids are really good. Now, this is chart drills others can read. All right? Facilitates teaching your band and shows specific formations, how to get into and out of them, that sort of thing. You list your terms, you list your instructions, and whatnot, and you can explain it. Now, if you'll look at the first page one there of that chart, this is an actual chart that I did for a school, and this is how I normally wrote my charts. All right, because I was not smart enough to remember. I could write it out, and the next day, I'm like, what did I just do here? All right. So I learned that if I put A and 1 and things like that, and I just followed that order, I could refigure it out. Okay? And that's what I did. Now, this particular chart was for a band whose director left the school, I mean, like permanently on the first day of school, and nobody knew why. And his format was to do one march, and they marched that, and then they learned the next part of the drill, and they added for contest. So they did third to third. So he had done that, and when it came to me in September, they brought me the chart, and they said, can you figure this out? And folks, there was no way you could, impossible. It was just formations. They weren't lined up. They were here, there, and yonder on the charts, and I said, no, I can't. And then they ended up asking me to write them a drill, which you're talking about a 6A school that was going to have to learn not just a new drill. They had only been handed one march. They hadn't even learned any other march. So keeping that march and adding 2 other marches to it, had to find marches that were challenging enough that they'll pick up, that sort of thing. And then write the drill and then teach it to them. The principal, the middle school director, who had never taught high school band and had only done corps when he was in school, was promoted to high school director the day that I showed up to talk to him. And I wrote this in hopes that he would be able to read it. Okay, and that was the idea. He had other help. Glenn Oliver was there to help as well with this. And so these 3 pages right here are what the first part of that drill. And I always use different colors to help me see where the changes were occurring and what was going to happen. It's very important on this. The story on this band was, the good story on this band is that the week I taught them, their principal came and said that you will perform this Friday. He said, okay. So we taught them the whole drill. That Friday they performed it, and I was telling them, well, man, that's tough. I'd hate to be in that position. He said, yeah, it's worse. and said, we're playing Westfield, and it's going to be nationally televised on ESPN. So I watched ESPN, and they didn't show any of the halftime. He kind of break on that one. They did go to a festival a couple weeks later, and not only made a one, but one outstanding band in the class, and then they won at UIL within, 4 weeks after they learned the drill. So they were successful, but the bottom line on this was writing. This was a difficult drill to write for me in the sense that I did not know anybody. I didn't know who they had that could play what. So we had to guess on this. And we gave them 2 marches that they played. Cyrus the Great was what they were playing initially. And this was for Cyrus the Great. We added Kiefer Special and them basses because that was the middle. We figured that they'll hit this and learn it fast enough. And they were successful. I was very, very pleased to hear that. Very good. So doing that is writing a drill you can read. If you were to take this drill and start reading it and just try to understand each thing, you would be able to do that drill. All right, and so in the Powerware sheets, as you look a little bit further, it's the same idea. It's color coordinated depending on things, positions that are going to change, and they're in, with this program, of course, you can put in all of these notes that you have to make it better to read. And Mr. Diosadado will be going through that in just a few moments. So chart drills, others can read. Very, very important. All right, and the thing about Power that I love is flexibility. You have flexibility in charting. Now I'm on Tommy Moore, and I was talking about, he said this too, I'd already said it before. You know, by the time I retired, I knew that I didn't have to unplug a computer to turn it off. All right, but you always have young guys who can do this. And you younger guys that just grew up in the computer age, which we did not, this sort of thing will be just easy for you. So if you're an old guy and you said, oh man, I can't do this, I bet you got someone young on staff that can do it, and that can be huge for you. So the Power charting, the flexibility is tremendous. And also it's quicker, it aids in eliminating a potential problem. You can see it right there. And he will show you how to do some of this. It can expose discrepancies in what you're doing. And also, once you're written, you're thinking, you can show it to your band kids. And you know, you and I both know, if a kid understands the concept of the drill you're doing, you can put them in a spot and they can march it the first or second time, if they understand the concept of what the band is doing. And it's like anything you do though, charting is going to require some time, but this is a fast and effective way to do it. Now I put some thoughts down here at the bottom, and I said this earlier about writing a simple drill and a challenging drill, but writing the right drill, because and you guys, a lot of you guys, if you judge, you see this, and I do. I see drills out there that I know that it's a self-destruct drill. You put all your trumpets in one rank, there go the trumpets. You did this, you did that, and you're not playing through the turns. Things like that hurt the drill. And the reason why you're not playing through, there's not the polish. Well, you're doing an asymmetrical drill. It took you longer, much longer, to work the drill and get the kids doing it. So by the time it was time to really start polishing the music, it was too late. You're at contest. So if you're going to do that, of course, you have to back up a little bit as far as doing things. And then I have on to utilize your rehearsal time properly. Every teaching, learning moment counts. Consider the time you waste, not the time the children waste. The time you waste, and as far as being prepared. Of course, if you hadn't got their attention, you're not going to teach them anyway. All right, so now I'd like to turn this over to Mr. Diosadado, and he's going to show you Power and some benefits and how to do some, and we'll chart a little bit further.
First off, I want to thank a couple people that kind of inspired me. We're kind of getting started with Power. as a student, you know, I was in Tom Minch's band, TJC, kind of got me going on the music path. I spent a lot of time after taking Ryan Smith's marching methods class at Lamar. I spent a lot of time watching the old videos of like Jim Haygood, Denny Whitley, and Larry Ward. A lot of time just watching their band saying, how can I figure this out on my own? And one thing I'll definitely say to you younger guys, find something that you can do well and apply yourself to it. I love that I can sit there, you know, at Cleveland and go to Christy Jones and say, hey, what do you want to see? That's the conversation that we have, just like he said that he has with Jim Jones when he was the assistant at Cleveland, Mr. Kelly. We sit down and we'll say, what do you want to see? She already has the marches picked out, things like that, but I start coming up with design concepts, and then we just kind of start fitting it to the drill, you know, from there. When it comes to Poware, as far as the technical side of things, you definitely want to make sure that you have computer equipment that is to the most recent updates, things like that, maxed out on especially on your video card, things of that nature. Because some of the features that they have on the newest system, they don't apply to, you won't see them in full effect until you're maxed out on, like here, they have the newest version that has like you can see the actual figurines on the field. My computer is not up to as far as the processing power to do that. Okay. Now, the person you're going to want to talk to, especially older directors, if you want to get your young guys on this, you want to talk to Dustin Merrill. About 3 years ago, whenever I got started with Cleveland, we went down and talked to him, and he said, you know, this is what you need. Let's, you know, go and get it. And so we did. Whenever we bought Poware, I spent a lot of time on the phone with him. He's very knowledgeable as far as the basic maneuvers that we're going to need to do. So you can go that way with him. So he was going to be here for today for this clinic, but they're downstairs getting set up for the exhibit downstairs. At the NAMMB meeting, I'm pretty sure that he is going to be there. Mr. Jones, is that correct?
At the retreat on August the 19th, they're supposed to be there, yes.
And he'll be able to demonstrate more things about what the Poware system can actually do. What I wanted to do, first off, is kind of show you the basic things as far as once you actually have it on your computer, you're set up good to go, things that you can do as far as getting started. So I have here the newest version of Poware. Started up here. I'm going to take you through a basic setup of drill. We're going to do a Texas turn, and then we're going to do either a fall leader counter march, delayed counter march. Really, that's the flexibility aspect that Mr. Kelly was talking about. Now, if you notice here on the screen here, if you look, you can look at the grid design. It's an 8x5 grid design right now. Of course, this program is originally designed for core bands, but it's a real quick fix. All you have to do, utilities, you have a grid designer here. This is something that I helped Poware with. A lot of conversations back and forth between myself and Dustin. I actually created a grid design that is parallel to the Wayman Bullet Accu chart. So let's load up here. The one that they have originally was the 6x5 traditional. If you guys can kind of see on my mouse here, you see that it's just not, there's 3x3 squares. Doesn't really make a whole lot of sense sometimes, especially when you're showing kids. So what I did, just adjusted some of the grids, and now all the new load-ups will have this 6x5 military grid design that I created for them with the Wayman Bullet. So the grid design is all loaded up, ready to go. Hit OK, and as you can see, now my grid is changed now to fit the military style drill. Always, anytime you're working with Poware, especially when you're first getting started, I definitely recommend anytime you click on something new, it's going to give you a text box as far as what to do, things that you can do with the system. Read it, read it, read it, read it, because that's what I had to do, and it answered a lot of questions. And then when I finally couldn't get an answer from here, that's when I called Dustin. So Can't see the whole grid, just adjust the grid. Oh, excuse me. Zoom out. Then I'm going to drag it down, just kind of get it out of the way. That way I can see. I have all my little options here. And then I still have the full screen grid down here. What I used for my template today, I went to the NAMMB website and I pulled some old videos. The one I was like, well, you know what? This will be something real quick to chart, very basic as far as the things that we're doing on here. So I'm not sure, it didn't specify the band that's actually in this group. If this is your band, I'm sorry if I didn't contact you ahead of time. I turned the volume actually down all the way. That way, you know, if they don't want to hear anything that you don't want to hear. But this group right here is going to execute a Texas turn. I'll run the video for you. A basic Texas turn going downfield to this is at SFA, so this will be going south. The great thing about a 60-piece band is that this group is that almost all of your phrases, like Mr. Kelly was talking about symmetrical drills, almost all of your maneuvers will line up with music. There's certain magic numbers with your band that you can set up your drill with that things will just naturally happen. So that they execute the Texas turn. Now, to kind of get you started on the power here, I always like to use these page tabs. If you look down the bottom right hand of the screen here, click on the page editor. I always want to have a starting place. Click on count 0. In most of your traditional marches, you have 32 counts going through it. So just kind of set a couple markers. If I mess up, you know, just kind of adjust it real fast. But once I set my kind of rehearsal marks, you're good to go. All right. Now, if you notice right here, if I click on the number 1, it sets my count editor here. The yellow and red markers here. There's not any space between them. So that's saying, hey, this is a starting point. You're telling the program this is a starting point. What I want to do is I want to first off make my block. So like here. Come back to these guys. So they're 2 steps over the 45 to the south, and then 2 steps inside the 40 to the north. So they have the block tool here, and what you do with the block tool, you set your outside points for your band. So if you wanted to set up your band, you know, really anywhere on the field, you set your front rank. And then you tell them how far back you want to go, especially you guys with bigger bands. Of course, you know, this would be really neat for you. Okay? So you can accept, and you know, the group I'm doing is going to be a little bit smaller, so all I got to do is highlight all the performers, hit delete performers, and move back to square one. Okay? So, this group again, 2 steps inside the south 45, 2 steps inside the north 40. So, get these guys going. All you got to do is just, you know, even if you overshoot it, you can just drag and adjust. Even there, just drag and adjust. And it even tells you right here how many performers you have. 6 performers at a 2-step interval, 10 performers at a 2-step interval, 60 performers. You hit accept, you're ready to go. Okay? Now, the next step is obviously the Texas turn portion of the video. I always like to work with whoever's turning first. So if you watch the video, you notice that this performer right here, the marcher here in the bottom left corner, they initiate the Texas turn. So, the great thing is with Powware, they have this what's called a glue tool, and it automatically glues your performers, your ranks together, so you can dictate across the rank what you want them to do. But first off, before I get ahead of myself, I got to make sure I click on the number 2 here, because now it's saying, okay, now we have 32 counts to play with. And if you can kind of see on the screen the grayed out area, it's giving you the maximum amount of space that these guys can cover in a reasonable amount of time. But for us, we know 6 to 5, 30-inch stride. You know what we do. Now, the maneuver that we're going to do, of course, if you watch the video, these guys here that initiate the maneuver will do a wrap leg. The thing about power is that it can't determine between a wrap leg and a flank. It just can't. It doesn't understand. It can't differentiate between the two. That's where you, as a director, have to make sure in your notation you make sure you mark, saying, "Hey, this is not a flank. This is a wrap leg." On that part. So this performer here, we're going to click on him. All right. Now, to do a maneuver, would be a wrap leg. I want to click this traditional tool. This tool is what they power added in specifically for military bands to type in military type maneuvers. Did that there. I already had it kind of queued up from before. I was working on this last night. One thing you always want to make sure, anytime you click on a traditional tool, the counter march tool, things like that, I'll show you that here in a minute. You want to make sure that you always adjust it to 6 to 5. After you do it the first time, you don't have to mess with it again. But this performer here, if you watch the video, go back one more time so you can see it. Turns on count 4. There. Now, they initiate the maneuver 4 steps in. So all I have to do with this player right here, move them up 4 steps, right there. Now this line you see going at a diagonal here, this is called the action line. These performers that are highlighted here, they will perform the action that you dictate to them here in this text box. So for these guys, I'm going to write in, I want them to do a white flank. Now remember, the power can't figure out between the two right now. That's just the way you have to put it in, and it understands where you want to go. You want to go to the right. You want to execute a right flank. Hit accept. It moves the performers to where they're going to end up. And if you actually wanted to see just this group move, you can kind of see it happen. But I'll play it again here in just a second when everyone's done, so you can see the whole maneuver kind of play out. Now, the next rank. Now these guys, they do it to the rear, and then they execute a left flank to go down the field. Right here, these path names, you can set up the path name so that way it saves especially the angle and things like that. It saves it for you, kind of helps speed up the process. But for these guys right here, again, everyone, the first person that turns, in this case to the left here, the form on the left, set their action line, and then you tell them what to do. Well, these guys, they're going to the rear 2. They're going to the rear, take 2 steps, and then execute a left flank. So to the rear 2. I'll just kind of TR for power, and it tells you in the options menu, what text means what as far as the maneuver is concerned. But to the rear, TR2, 2 steps, and you put a comma, and then left flank. Hit enter, and there they are. And then we go on, kind of with the next following ranks. These guys, when I saved it last night, is TR4. Move them up 4 steps to the rear, take 4 steps, and then execute a left flank. These guys will, so again, the action point will be 4 steps forward. Then they'll to the rear, take 6 steps. And you can so on and so forth. These guys will, after this person takes 4 steps, up to the rear 8. Come on now. And then these guys here. Also, the great thing about the grid is that you can always kind of see, like these guys, every 4 steps going down the field, it's real easy to see where I need to move them to on their grid. But for instance, let's say I shortchange by 1. I missed it by 1 spot on the grid, but I enter in the right information to the rear 10. Uh-oh, there's something wrong. You see it, you see it automatically, and you know to go back and adjust it. The quickest way I found to adjust it is just delete delete the transition, and they go back to where they were originally. Then you start over again. Select the group. You select these guys, move them up to the correct location. They're the first person to turn. These guys here will to the rear, and then march 10 steps, and then execute a left flank. So now you've coded in the Texas turn. Now let's see it in action. So 1, 2. Also, it can play it through. Me personally, I prefer to use the space bar. That way, I can dictate how fast or slow we're moving. But they have the play animation here, where you can use the space bar. Hit play. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, halt. And then you can, and then you're there. Once you're done, you're good to go. Okay? Now, the next part for this, you can do, really, you have just, all kinds of different options you can do. You can do a follow leader, counter march. Again, it's perfect, symmetrically, it lines up symmetrically. We're on a yard line. The next strain, the next step will be the first note of the next strain. You can do you can do a counter march. Select here. They have the counter march tool here. Again, always make sure, just double check for the first time, 65. And then we're going to execute a right counter march. Okay? Now this is real important. For me, the first time whenever I was doing this, I couldn't figure it out. The half stride for the 2 baby steps when you're doing the counter march. The half stride. Now, what you want them to do, the blue line here, again, is your action line. It's telling them, hey, this action that we're saying, do this counter march when you reach this line. So 2 half steps. All right, half stride, then you do another right flank and go. And there you are. So in 32 steps, you know exactly where these guys will be. Same with the next group. You can do you could do follow leader and see what it looks like. It's like, oh, well, I don't really like that. Well, let's do something different. Let's try a delayed counter march, or to open up to a spread 5. Counter march. We'll spread 5. These guys will start their counter march 3 steps on the 3rd step. Oh, there you go. Step. So you kind of see where you want to put everybody. So in this case, we can do a delayed counter march. These guys will start their counter march 1 step before the 30. Just kind of work your way down. Counter march 1 step over the 30, going south. Now, if you notice right here, they kind of do land on each other. If you click the correct performer, it'll click the right group for you. Counter march, these guys 3 steps over. And this group right here, 1 step inside the 25. And there you are. So now you have your counter march ready to go. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, and halt. And there you go. You want to see it play all the way through from the beginning. All you have to do, hit this the play animation from the beginning, just right underneath the play button, and you have the whole motion ready to go. And you can watch the drill on the screen. All the way through. You even have your counts down here on the bottom of the screen, all the way through. It plays it all. Basically, I mean, it would keep going all the way until the end of the counts, all the way down here at the very, very end. But as far as power is concerned, there's all kinds of different possibilities you can come up with. Last week when we were doing this for Scott Deppy, we said, well, let's do a delayed counter march across the band. So we had one big long parallelogram. I mean, you can just sit there and just play with different ideas, take a lot of risks. few years back, I was helping Rhonda Daniel with her drill with Timpson, and I can see where I was then as a drill rider to where I am now, and I take a lot more risks. But it wasn't until Mr. Kelly and I had the conversation last year where he was like, hey, you need to start thinking about these certain things, asymmetrical drills, because I was putting some maneuvers in that did not line up with the music. Let me show you, for example, from our contest drill from this year with Cleveland. Okay, so let me cue up the video for you real fast. All right. Now, part of my learning curve with the power was that writing a drill that others could teach from. The drill from this year, I'll share my experience with you that I had a ball game with my middle school band, and we were in the middle of teaching the contest drill, but I left nowhere near the amount of notation that I should have. So, but Mr. Kelly was able to come in, him and Ms. Jones, and they sit there and watch the video, watch this play out on the screen, write their notes, and teach the band while I was off with the middle school group. Because that's one of our traditions as far as like me writing the drill. Well, Chrissy says, well, you write the drill, you have to teach the drill. Now she's there, monitoring and inputting when students have questions, her and the other associates. But it's my job, it's my responsibility that the drill gets learned. We had a conflict, Mr. Kelly was able to help out, worked out great. Now all this stuff you see here with the music and marching, that's something I learned after the fact, because I didn't have all that notation written in, and so again, they had to kind of bail me out on that. Let's kind of see, with the drill that we did from this year. This is a halfway part through our drill. We did quality plus. Now the great thing is, if you want to watch the video, watch certain parts of the drill, you can set this range right here as far as you want to, and it'll kind of get you where you want to be. So this basically right here, I adjusted it to where this is just quality plus that you're going to see here on this drill here. Now the great thing about power is also like these little marks right here, the music notation and marching notation. They're not on the screen the entire time. They're only on the rehearsal marks. So whenever you print it, this is what you see, like it is on your page here. But just so you can see the whole thing in action. This is a quality plus. Right here, this is the intro. And a lot of times what we end up having the students do is they sing their part as they're watching, and they can pinpoint where they are and just kind of watch themselves on the drill. Now, one thing that Scott Debbie pointed out too is, and I think this is something where maybe, even if someone else came in with me and started using more power, have those guys kind of help us out on, hey, what if the power could tell our students, print out their drill and say, hey, you counter march on, one step over the 35, and then you to the rear on this count, things like that, to where you have that all printed out, you hand it to your student, and you're ready to go. Well, it's just not quite there yet. So, but, right now, as directors, I think, we can still have, at Cleveland, we still have our students, they write out their contest drill as their own hand, that way they know it, they know their counts, things like that. But, let's play through quality plus here. I'll let it play out. So, this will be the intro. This is the first strain. Now, the colors you have here, these guys in the red, they executed a to the rear. The blues and greens, they did follow the leader flanks. And the purple is our back triangle. They all turned together on count, I believe it was count 24. But this is where we had our XO drill, our cross throughs. If you guys that watch this at NAMMB or area, the thing about these turns, they line up exactly with the music. Count 32, right here, these guys they kept moving. A major phrase mark right here, you see we got the two groups kind of coming back together. That's the secondary phrase on count 16. They turn on count 16 and then they're coming back together. This right here, they're going to start the trio. As they're coming back together, and basically the band comes back to their original formation with the stacking that like Mr. Kelly has on here on his handout. Now, we're gonna come up to a point right here. Now, I'm gonna back up real fast. Beginning of the trio, we're going, okay? Now, before the band reaches a major rehearsal march, you're gonna see the band flank. Count 28. That was the hardest turn for us to teach. Could not tell you why. Well, we can. Asymmetrical. It did not line up with the music. The kids, they could not understand. It just didn't correlate. They couldn't understand it. That was probably one of the hardest turns for us to teach. It just worked out like that, and then, you know, even it affected us musically. That was, if you when we watched the video, you could always hear the sound drop off right in that turn. But this is the band, and you know, from this is our area tape doing the same drill. You want me to turn it up? Looking at my boss like, "Want me to turn it up?" Here you see the back triangle. These guys are getting ready to turn together. One thing I will add, as far as the limitations on power, I know a lot of guys, especially in recent years, I've been seeing a lot of guys like to use like obliques and things like that. Obliques is something that power it can do, but it doesn't look pretty on the screen whenever you're showing the students from the power system. It can't quite understand the oblique turn and going the adjusted step and then coming back together. It doesn't look really good on the screen.
Well, let me ask you a question about that. I think I asked you this before. In something like those obliques, and you said it doesn't look good, but in the power, the core style, they can do that. Is that correct?
Yes, they can. It's just if you were doing, if the whole band was doing an oblique together, it would look clean. But whenever you have like with some maneuvers, you have people still going down the field 6 to 5 while others are doing obliques. On the screen it looks muddy. But whenever they complete the maneuver, they're back to their block band formation. They're back together and it looks fine. It's just the in between time because again, you know, if you're taking 30 inch stride down the field, but then you're doing an adjusted step at an angle for the oblique, it can't compute two different step sizes in the middle of maneuver. So that's what's going on with that.
Hey, Dean.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Johnson was asking, can the power, can you fix it so that it'll show like the back step, you know, like we call the hibby-dibby-dibby-doo, or the or halftime marching?
There's some bands that, you know, they'll keep a regular tempo and then half the band will do half march.
That you can. It's with the forward march tool. I haven't played around with halftime marching so much, but just like, you know, with core bands that do the adjusted step size and things like that, I think it is possible.
What about the dead step or the backup?
The dead step, there is a mark time feature on here to where you can tell them to mark time for a set amount of counts and then continue on forward. The dead step, that's one of those maneuvers that I had to spend a lot of time with the actual programming because I had to limit it to all the students that were doing the hibby-dibby-dibby-doo or the fast break, the students that marched backwards. That count structure, I had to limit it. So usually that's a 2 count maneuver. So for that spot right there, I had to limit my range.
Danny,
Yeah.
Another thing, on the 19th at the retreat, when you get that wonderful steak that Mr. Grant cooked, I might add that's a commercial. We're going to try and have pieware there about 2:30, and they're going to do, you know, sit down. And Danny said he would be there too, by the way. I told him I'd give him a free steak. So you guys that are looking at this, and they'll be there from 2 o'clock on, and we usually leave about 9 or 10 o'clock that night, so you have some time to get with these guys on a one-to-one basis.
Definitely. You know, in our handout, I think I should be my contact information. If not, you can get with me here right after this, and we can I can give you my cell phone number, email. I have no problem, you know, on a weekend getting with you and kind of show you some just basic things to kind of get you started. I will say, you know, when you commit to it, go for it. You know, don't give up on it. There is a lot of learning that on your end that you have to do. But once you're done, once you learn it and you're comfortable with it, I think the positives could just be limitless. Yes, sir.
2 questions. Can you show me the traditional tool of how many maneuvers you have in that drop down?
Yes, sir. Let's see.
And second is, where do we get it and how much?
The getting how much, you can talk to Dustin. Those guys will be down there tomorrow in the exhibit hall. I can't remember the cost off the top of my head, but you can go to the Power website and they'll let you know on that.
They give Danny his stuff for free.
That's the basic version?
This is the basic version. I think for what we do, the advanced and things like that, I'm not sure we'll really need it. Here, let me see if I can open up a new one and it'll bring up the.
I'm just curious how many.
We just set a group here. Just kind
Well,
of.
then it just reminds them, for those bands that do like rotating blocks, they have that in the core style Power, which I'm sure they can put into this one. And in something like that, they can tell each student what to do and that part of it. So this thing is evolving, and Mr. Jones can tell you, it was 30 years ago, we were trying to get people to create something like this, and it's taken so long to get here. And so this is going to advance, I think, pretty significantly in what you'll be able to do just in the next few years and the next year or so. And as Mr. Jones stated, they'll have the Power guys down at that NAMMB retreat. It'll be a really good time to come and enjoy some steak and see, because they can explain it too as well.
For some reason, it's not wanting to come up to me, but a lot of it is like your left, right flanks, mark time, step off, like step 2s and things like that. There's a drop off feature that I haven't used, I can sit there with my laptop here in a minute. We can play with it a little bit, try to bring it up. But the main thing is the flanks, the step offs, things like that we use. So.
Does it do back camera marches?
Excuse me? A lot of the counter marches is when you you can program it in, but you as a director have to notate to your students what exactly they're doing right now. It can't tell the difference between a rap play counter march or a regular counter march.
Ladies and gentlemen, we appreciate you coming today. We have to clear out for the next group that's going to be coming in. But thank you so much. Further questions, we'll be outside here and we'll be happy to answer them for you. Thank you so much for coming.